Hello and welcome back to the Film Custodian Show. I am the Film Custodian and I am back in the garage behind the theater that I work at. And yeah, here we go. Okay, so we are going to talk about the Rings of Power. No, I'm just kidding. That show's garbage. Yeah, I know I've already used that joke, but I'm going to use it again because that show is crap. Rings of Power is crap. And everyone who is trying to compare the Rings of Power with House of the Dragon, no. There is no comparison. So, without further ado, this is House of the Dragon, episode 10, the finale, and then sort of my overview of the entire season. Alright, so let's get started. So, House of the Dragon, episode 10, last episode in episode 9, we saw Aegon over in the Greens, their sort of faction of the Targaryens. They crowned Aegon king. He's now the king in Westeros. And then Rhaenys busts through the dragon pit, which was really stupid. The entire episode was great until the end. And it was really stupid for her to just, here I am, and then she could have just fried everybody. And then you kind of listen to the people the one lady that wrote that episode, and it was basically just came down to, well, it was really awesome. I thought that was awesome. And it's like, okay, so where was the oversight on that? Where was Ryan Condal and, Mikhail Skopachnik? Why weren't they like, hey, this is a really dumb idea. You shouldn't have her just pop up and kind of ruin the entire episode. I mean, for no reason. It's like, oh, well, she's being defiant. And it's like, no. You just wanted to have your girl power moment. That's all that was about. It was really dumb. And that episode suffered because of it. And hopefully enough people pile on and say that was a really dumb moment that it doesn't happen again. Okay, good. So this entire show has been really damn good. It was kind of a slow start and, kind of a slow burn, so to speak. But everything was earned. When you start at the beginning and you're really slow and you're sort of setting the table, getting everything ready, all the characters, what their motivations are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you get up to the end, all of that is earned. And the payoff is always better. Because that's what filmmaking is. It's setups and payoffs, setups and payoffs, setups and payoffs, beginning, middle, and end, beginning, middle, and end, right? You're constantly paying off arcs. Even in every episode, you need to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. That's just the way it works. Even in every scene, a beginning, a middle, and an end. A guy walks up to a guy, talks to him, hey, well, so the guy walks into the room, that's the beginning, talks to the guy, that's the middle, and then walks out, that's the end. But what was accomplished during that? There's a conversation going on that moves the plot along, moves the story along, moves the characters along to the next bit, right? That's what this show does, and it does it very effectively. Unlike the Rings of Power, which doesn't do that at all, that just kind of just keeps going into nothing because it sucks. So House of the Dragon. So basically, let's just get right to the end. So, let's talk about a couple things. So Rhaenyra is crowned king. She's crowned queen, and then you go into the room, and you have that famous table of Westeros that was created by the original Aegon the Conqueror that showed up, the original when the Targaryens came over to Westeros to conquer everything, and you have this table laid out, and it's so cool because underneath of it they light all these candles and then put these candles underneath the table, and then the table glows, right? All the houses are glowing, this, orange fire, and you can see all the lakes and rivers and everything. And it's really cool. Visually, it was really, really awesome. Just a nice little touch, nice little detail. And then, so everything is kind of, Daemon is very much like, no, we need to go, like he's out for blood. Rhaenyra is very much like, well, no, we need to hold off, we need to wait. She kind of keeps a cool head. At one point, Otto Hightower shows up and is basically like, well, here's everything that's going on. You lost. Accept it. And then, Daemon's like, no, I'll get you. I'll kill you all. Daemon's really cool. He's awesome. Everyone's great. Otto is awesome. They're all well acted. And then Rhaenyra shows up on her dragon again, sort of mirroring the episode 1 or episode 2, maybe episode 3, where she comes down on her dragon onto that little bridge that goes up to Dragonstone. She gets off of her dragon, but this time she has the crown on and all that. So she's very much like, well, we need to just get everything in order. We need to get our house in order, so to speak, and we need to figure out who our allies are. So she sends her 2 kids off to go off, and of course we end up at so one of them that we follow, I can't remember his name. No, Luke. Yeah, Luke. 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 So he gets on his small little dragon, goes off to Storm's End, which we've never seen before in Game of Thrones, or we've never seen in a show before. He goes off. That's where the Baratheons are, and he's just immediately he sort of lands in the courtyard area, and it's storming, and it's called Storm's End. There's a storm going on. I don't know if it's always stormy. Help me out, guys, if you've read all the books and whatnot. I have not read all the books. I read the first book of Song of Ice and Fire. I have not read the rest. But help me out in the comments section. Is it always stormy there at Storm's End? It's just always rainy there for no explained reason like that? That's fine. That's cool. But let me know. All right, so the kid lands, Luke lands, and then, it's like, it's storming, he can't see, and all the wind and rain is blowing, smashing against his face, and his dragon's just kind of, and then you hear this noise, that, kind of like, subtle kind of thing, and you look up, and this amazing shot. You see the big, huge dragon. The biggest dragon in the land, I think it's Vhagar, I believe. I might be wrong. Then you just see him rise up over these buildings in the background, and you're like, oh, Aemon is already here, and then sure enough, the kid walks into the courtroom, or the throne room, whatever, and he's basically like, oh yeah, there's Aemon there, he's already beat me to him, and that's basically what the Baratheon says. There's a real funny moment there, actually, where Luke is basically like, hands the message to one of the guards, takes it over to the Baratheon, and he's just, Maester! I can't read! He doesn't say he can't read, but this basically, he needs the maester to read the message. I thought that was a nice touch. This is mimicking, medieval times, and not everyone can read. Not everyone has access to, teachers and whatnot. So I thought that was pretty fun. That was pretty cool. And it's basically like, well, you come here with nothing. You just come here and you're like, well, I should just swear my loyalty to you because I did 20 years ago, to Rhaenyra, 20 years ago. But you're not offering me anything. The Greens, on the other hand, Aemon over here, he's like, yeah, I'll marry one of your daughters, and now we'll have, strengthen our houses and things. So then Luke kind of leaves, but not before Aemon is like, I'm still bitter about you took out my eye. Now I want your eye. And the Baratheon is like, don't do this in the courtroom. Don't do this in here. Take it outside. Get out of here. So Luke kind of leaves. And it's interesting because when you go out, he goes outside into the courtroom, the wind is blowing and his cape is blowing and everything, and there's rain, and you're kind of looking around. That dragon is gone. That dragon's not there anymore, right? So his dragon, Luke's dragon, comes down. He kind of gets up on the dragon, flies off, and he's kind of, flying through the air, and he can hardly even fly through this storm because the storm is so intense. And, Luke and his dragon, but he keeps looking around, hearing something, and you just know at any moment, sure enough, there's the big, huge, big-ass dragon chasing him from behind. And what starts out as just a simple game, of teasing and bullying by Aemon Targaryen ends up being a disaster and triggers the entire war. They both lose control of their dragons. You see Luke the entire time shouting directions at his dragon, don't do this, don't do that, concentrate on flying away. Eventually, Luke's dragon, just in self-defense, swings by, Vhagar and blows fire in his face, and he's just like, I'm not going to stand for that, And so Aemon is like, no, you need to listen to me, And Vhagar's dragon comes down and eventually just, chops the poor little dragon and Luke in half. And thus begins the war, and it's tragic. And it does exactly what a finale needs to do. It's the entire building up all the way up until the end, and there's the payoff, and then now the finale gets you excited for season 2, which is probably not going to come out for 2 years, because I believe they're going to start rolling cameras in a couple months. But yeah, we won't get the show probably until 2024, like maybe early 2024. Like maybe they'll start to get back on that schedule Game of Thrones was originally, where it's not a fall show, it's a springtime show, more like February, March. Yeah, Game of Thrones always kind of came out in like March, April. So maybe they're going to shoot for that, which gives them about a year if they start filming this January. But the show is great. One of the only criticisms people brought up is the time jumps, because you change actors a couple times. There's 5 or 6 time jumps. So yeah, I think in terms of there's more characters in Game of Thrones, but it seems like there's more characters in this show, House of the Dragon, because everybody has kids, and then those kids have kids, and those kids get married and have those kids. And so there's so many kids, and then by the time you jump ahead 2 episodes, they're fully grown, and then they're killed, and you're trying to remember who was what and what, which one was which. So that gets a little bit confusing. But all in all, I don't have a problem with the time jumps. I think they were good. I think they were necessary in order to get through that beginning of the history. And I think this covers 16 years altogether, from episode 1 to episode 10. And people also had an issue. They're like, oh, Viserys aged. No, he aged, but he also had like a disease, man. They're like, oh, he aged. He looked like a zombie, but no one else is. Daemon's not. He's not aging. Yeah, Viserys was getting poked by the Iron Throne or something. I don't know, but he had a disease of some kind. They clearly showed that, where his flesh is just rotting away. He's losing an arm, he loses an eye, his face is falling apart, he's just decaying. They don't explicitly tell us, what the disease is, what's wrong with him, but clearly there's something wrong with him. He's not just aging. So, yeah, he has a disease. And, so I just wanted to set that straight. But, yeah, I mean, everybody kind of ages. They're like, that's one of the criticisms. It's like some of these characters aren't aging while others are being, completely changing actors and actresses. And I think that, I don't know, I mean, you see Daemon gets a haircut at one point. I mean, I don't know if it's all that necessary. So it gets a little muddled, in terms of how old everybody is and whatnot. But it doesn't really bother me all that much. I think that's kind of just a little bit of a, I know it bothers some people, and the idea that it bothers them is because if you invest so much time with an actor or an actress, and then they time jump to, now it's 10 years later, we got these new actresses. It's like relearning to get to know the character again. Relearning, we have to relearn about them, we have to get caught up with them and get reinvested, and then they change again, and so it's hard to get invested. But I think it works. I think it's well done, and I think everyone is a good enough actor in the show that you get reinvested pretty quickly. I think Paddy Candestine, I believe is his name, the guy that plays Viserys, the king, is excellent. People say he should win an Emmy. I think he should too as well. I'm all for that. He was great. He was kind of he wasn't the main character the entire time, but he was a great character, and he was just the guy that wanted to make his models, man. He just was the guy that, he was, during peacetime, he was the king. He didn't want to be king to begin with. He's kind of a weak king. I mean, he even says at one point, he has some dialogue, it's like, how am I going to be remembered? This is peacetime. There's nothing really going on. But because he wasn't always strong, because he didn't always show authority and leadership, everyone else was running amok. And everyone, and eventually leads to the House of the Dragon's downfall. So, yeah, I think he should win an Emmy for sure. Yeah, the show is really great. I can't wait for the second season. I think this first season was really good. I know a lot of people going into this were still bitter about Game of Thrones and how it ended with season 8. And so a lot of people were like, yeah, I don't really care. They weren't too sure, but you watched the show anyway because it's in Westeros. And yeah, the show did everything it needed to do. It reintroduced Westeros, got you excited for Westeros again, got you excited for these characters and all these different types of things that you can do in Westeros, got you excited again. And it is. It's one of the best shows on TV. But now that it's off TV, I think one of the best things on TV is Star Wars Andor. Go watch Star Wars Andor. Why is nobody watching this show? Well, I know why. It's Star Wars fatigue, right? After being disappointed with the sequel trilogy and whatnot. But go watch it. Give it a try. You got to watch at least the first 6 episodes. I mean, it starts off slow, but it's really good. Go watch Star Wars Andor. It's definitely worth a watch. It's awesome. And yes, go watch House of the Dragon if you haven't seen it yet. I think it's great. It's a great show. Okay. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. If you enjoy my channel, please subscribe for more. I got more videos coming down. I also talk about Star Wars, like I was just talking about Star Wars Andor. I think it's really good. I also do a lot of reviews of The Rings of Power. If you want to see me rant and rave about how much I really don't like that show, go check those out. And then I got my other Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon videos on here as well. And some other stuff coming soon too, like short films and skits, things that have nothing to do with with reviewing movies. So yeah, good. Those are all coming soon. All right. See you in the next one.